The world news begins with Senate President Senator Ahmad Lawan yesterday scoring the Red Chamber high, describing his tenure as a glorious moment and a worthwhile adventure. Lawan, who noted that the Ninth Senate performed in the three core areas of lawmaking, representation and oversight, also said he was not bothered with the Senate he superintended and was tagged a rubber stamp. He noted that National Assembly passed many bills into law, out of which former President Muhammadu Buhari assented to about 112. Speaking at a valedictory session with the Senate press corps yesterday in Abuja, Lawan said that he's returning to the Senate for the 10th National Assembly, having served as a president of the Senate, would surely or rather be purely for full representation of the people of Yobe North. Lawan, who has spent 24 years in the National Assembly and has won re-election to the 10th Senate, said he has witnessed a lot and worked with sets of journalists, even as he stressed that they achieved the legislative agenda they set for themselves through bipartisanship and united, more efficient and productively worked for the nation. Meanwhile, Aloy Ejimako, special counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, has appealed to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to prevail on the State Security Service to allow Mr. Kanu to seek independent medical care. Mr. Ejimako, who made the appeal on a post via his verified Twitter handle on Wednesday, said that Mr. Kanu, the leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, needs urgent medical care, particularly for his ear. The lawyer in an earlier tweet claimed he had gone through so much trouble to advance the cause of arranging proper medical care for the IPOB leader, but that the SSS did not allow that to happen. He attached a copy of the letter to the tweets. The letter was also signed by the lawyer. The letter, dated the 6th of June and addressed to the Director General of the SSS, was in response to a medical report of Mr. Kanu believed to have been made by the SSS medical unit. The lawyer identified the medical doctors as Uche Ukwiji, a consultant otolaryngologist, and David Ukoha, a family physician. The doctors were scheduled to be at the SSS headquarters at 2 p.m. the same day in the company of Mr. Kanu's brother, Emmanuel. Now, there are plans underway by the Lagos State House of Assembly to make promulgation that will potentially undermine land and property ownership by non-indigents, especially Lagos in the state, following a declaration by its Speaker Mutashiru Obasa to reverse all the reversible. Mr. Obasa, a longtime ally of Mr. Tinubu and a staunch member of the establishment, stated this on Tuesday in his acceptance speech as a third-term Speaker of the Lagos Parliament and the inauguration of the 10th Lagos Assembly. Revealed plans by the ruling All Progressives Congress to pass new land and property laws which would favor only indigents. The Lagos Speaker revealed the plot of the APC-controlled state parliament to use all legislative instruments to favor indigents against other tribes. Mr. Obasa further asserted, and I quote, "There would be laws and resolutions in the areas of economy and commerce, property and titles, and will reverse all that are reversible to protect the interests of the indigents." The 2023 presidential and gubernatorial polls, as you would recall, had pitched Igbos against Yoruba politicians in the APC, and their hordes against Lagos are rather against Igbos and Labour Party. The latter's governorship candidate, Gbadebo Rhodes-Vival, was singled out and demarcated for having Igbo ancestry. In the aftermath of the March 18 global poll, the United States issued a statement condemning APC-led suppression of Igbo voters in Lagos and announced fresh visa bans on corporates. Just days before the governorship poll, a notorious Lagos thug, Musiliu MC Oluomo Akinsoya, threatened Igbos who would not vote for APC to stay home. After suffering a severe scare in the Lagos governorship race, a victory is contested at the tribunal, with Bayo Ononuga and the APC pushed an outright exclusion of Nigerians of Igbo extraction from the Lagos political power, marking an escalation of ethnic controversies that enveloped the poll. In order for us to actually talk about this, I have via the telephone Mr. Elvis Elimehele, who is a political analyst, a social affairs commentator, and of course, Mr. Elvis is a journalist. Mr. Elvis, good afternoon, and welcome to the World News at 12.
Good afternoon, Esther. How are you doing?
I am fine. Thank you so much for being part of the World News today.
Thank you.
It is important for us to actually have this conversation, considering the fact that we are a country that is a combination of various nations, which is tagged one of the most populous African nations and one of the richest African nations in the world. And it would seem quite unfortunate if we allow ethnic and religious sentiments to be the one dividing factor that could actually move the country forward. And if you notice during the 2023 elections, this was one of the major factor or one of the major traits that affected the elections a whole lot. One would say that the politicians decided to use ethnic, religious sentiments against ourselves, especially when it comes to collectivity and unionism for deciding who would be the next leader. Now, we recall about 2 or 3 days ago, a former governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, also made a statement like this in a gathering of people where he talked about the fact that those of his ethnic group, those of his religion will be considered more or first before any other religion or any other tribe in the state, because considering the voting pattern, how they voted for him at the elections, and that was one of the principles that was on the blueprint of their government. We now have Mudashiru Obasa making a statement like that. Do you think this is the right time for that kind of statement? Don't you think our democracy has progressed to a level that such, would I call it, age-old sentiment shouldn't apply to how things are done now?
Thank you, Esther. I think if these leaders of APC actually want to have a united Nigeria, a peaceful Nigeria that will lead to development, as they claim that they want to bring development to Nigeria, they should caution some of their members the way they talk. This verbal terrorism coming from some of their members is it's an aberration. It's something that they should be able to caution them to know how to talk, especially in the country. Our constitution says that Nigeria is a secular state, and this is a country that has over 300 and something ethnics, diverse languages, religion, and culture. Then for somebody to now sit down and be using it as threat to divide the country, to set one or two tribes, on fire, it is something that APC must have to talk to their leaders to know how to talk and address issues. Because whether they like it or not, at this moment that we are talking, Esther, they are the one at the headship of this nation now. And if they must want to strive for peace, they must talk to their leaders. This verbal banditry that is coming from some of their members, it is so uncalled for, and it is something that Nigerians must fight against. You see what happened in Lagos during the election, where some tribes were intimidated not to even come to the field to vote. And you see what happened in Kaduna, the killing in Saka Kaduna throughout the 8 years of El Rufai's administration. Then you see what is happening across the whole of North Central, the killing in Plateau, the killing in Benue, just like genocide that want to just erase out of this nation. If we don't caution the way we talk, especially this leadership of APC, it is going to set Nigeria on fire. I don't know whether Nigeria have not learned from what happened in Rwanda in 1994, the genocide that happened in Rwanda in 1994. I think we should begin to talk to the leadership of APC so that they know how to trend their words when they are talking in public.
Now, Mr. Elvis, we have a situation too where Nnamdi Kanu is still in the SSS custody because of statements like this, statements which the federal government, made reference to while they were trying to, defend their case at the court, that Nnamdi Kanu made a derogatory statement, divisive comments in a clamor for having a self-actualization agenda. Don't you think that a statement made by Mudashiru Obasa, the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Reps, and that's of former Kaduna State Governor El Rufai, where they literally did the same thing?
Nnamdi Kanu made statement, and today Nnamdi Kanu is arrested and is incarceration. All these other ones that are making the same statement Nnamdi Kanu made, have they been arrested?
That's the question I'm asking. These are statements made publicly to the hearing of everyone. The SSS did not swing into arrest.
Yeah, none of them have been invited, even with the DSS. What is the statement that the SAD of Ajao Estate made? That made him to be arrested, and over 3 weeks he was in DSS and he's on bail now. The case is still on. Why is it that some persons made the same statement, they are considered a sacred cow, but when others make it, the DSS will roll out all their tanks and ambush them in 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the midnight and arrest them. But some other persons make the same statement and get away with it. What kind of selective justice are we in as a country? What kind of selective justice is APC leadership bringing into this nation? We have had this nation for over 60 years before APC came into power. Now, since they came into power, we are now hearing more of, okay, don't come out to vote. This place belongs to us. You must belong to this religion before you can have any position in this nation. Why are we robbing Peter to pay Paul? Is that how federal system of government is practiced all over in the world? Nigeria is a federated unit that is supposed not to be talking about ethnicity or religion. But look at what they are turning into. So what we should be talking about now is that let it be that what is happening to A is happening to B. If it is made from the other camp, let DSS and the police arrest the person who made it. And if it's also made the other way, let them be arrested. This kind of selective justice is going to bring problem to this government if they don't nip it in the bud, as we are talking about. And they are just assumed power. The new government has just come in just about 11 days. Then we are hearing some of this. And what happened in the next 3 years into this government? What happened in 2027 when we are talking of about another election? Are you not going to be surprised at what played out in this 2023 election? They might replicate it in 2027, even in a more diverse form, in a more serious form. Because some people, my friend told me that the baale of his place came to the queue and asked him to leave the queue because he knew he was not going to vote for APC where he lives. Imagine such thing. It's not that it has become a working formula for them. Are you not seeing that they are going to extend it even deeper into 2027? So what I mean, is Nigeria a divided country now?
Now, let me ask you, Mr. Elvis. The president said that he was going to run an all-inclusive government. One would say that because of what transpired during President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure, that a lot of change is meant to be experienced in this particular administration, and one of the change would be to clear the air concerning tribal and religious sentiments, which of course was the main stoke of former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Now, having to hear these statements we're hearing from a former governor and a 3-time speaker of the Lagos State Assembly, don't we think that it has gotten to the level that it needs to be addressed as soon as possible?
Yes, Esther, remember the day the president was sworn in, I was in the studio with you. And when we finished, when we were rounding up that program, you asked the question, what is his first assignment now that he should do? I told you that the first thing the president should do now is how to unite Nigeria. Nigeria is so fragmented more than even the time of civil war. Now, the president should come out now and denounce these utterances that are coming from some of the leadership of his party. He should come and tell them that they must not divide Nigeria in his hand. They must not tear this country apart, because if they want to help him, they should help him in coordinating and uniting Nigeria, because when there is no unity, there is no development that can fester in these next 4 years. With what we are seeing, with all these utterances, if people now start taking arms against themselves, you see that attention will be shifted to how to make peace. And before you know, 4 years will pass, nothing will happen.
Do you think this statement Obasa made is because of the fact that during the elections, the APC did not win in Lagos State? Maybe it was a surprise to the APC, as a party, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who of course was a former governor of Lagos State, did not win Lagos State at the elections. Maybe they realized that it's no longer business as usual. Do you think this is one of the reasons why this kind of statement was made? Because I need to requote what he said. These are facts. If you actually try and research or go on most of the online papers, you actually see this story. Now, he said Obasa asserted that there would be laws and resolutions in the areas of economy and commerce, property and titles. However, we will reverse all that are reversible to protect the interests of the indigents. And we do know that Lagos State is not a major component of one particular tribe. There are several tribes that actually reside in this state. So what exactly does that statement mean?
The statement is pregnant, Esther, but I need the president to diffuse it and let them know that now that they are in power, they should talk of how to unite everybody under one umbrella, because APC, if anything is happening to this nation now, you are going to mention the president, you are going to mention his party. So every other person that is speaking derogatorily under his party, they must be cautioned. Let me tell you, it is because when it happened during the election, nobody was arrested, no prosecution is made. That's why these matters are still festering. If there were people in court, if there are people that were arrested and reprimanded, I think some of these utterances would have been coming up now. But they have not seen it that we can do it and come out and get away with it, and it is now our right. This is where I'm talking about. Let the law take its course. The law must not be selective. Nigeria still have a functioning constitution that says that Nigeria is a secular state and is a federated unit. If these things are not done as it's supposed to be, you will see that people will begin to take laws into their hands. So people who are not seeing it as their birthright to intimidate other tribes because Nigeria, because they came to live with them, I think the president must step into this matter and nip it in the bud.
But in a situation like this, where it's possible that we may not have the president address this as soon, because that was the first thing I was expecting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do, it would have to fall within the purview of those who will be his ministers, his aides, and his special advisors. Some critics have actually said that why is it that both ethnic and religious bigotry are targeted possibly towards the Igbos? Why can't Igbo leaders come together and chart a path for their people? Is it possible for that kind of arrangement to be made, where possibly beyond Igbo leaders, any other tribe as well can come together to chart path for themselves, whereby they can be resonated with, not in division, but as well as just having a cause of representation, a cause of owning, having that sense of ownership as well in the country?
Well, nothing is beyond the president. He has to step in. It is high time he has to step in now before it becomes an issue. This matter is not beyond him at the moment. The president must have a serious dialogue with his people and talk to them. Because if you look at the votes he got, it is not just from one tribe, and it is not from one religion. It cuts across all the tribes and all the religion. Therefore, as the father of the nation, he must be able to stamp his ground and say, this is what I want, and I want the unity of all the tribes, the tribal components of this nation, and he must work towards it by talking to his party men and talking to whoever is part of his delegates and part of his appointed staff, that they must know how to talk, especially now that Nigeria is in a state that everybody is apprehensive, there is anxiety on land. So they must not begin to remind Nigerians of where we are coming from that was not favorable to us. We are looking at trying a new path forward now, how to heal the wounds that we had over the past 8 years of Buhari's administration. So this new government must be able to come up with new ideas that will bring that concrete unity that we need now for development and peace to reign in this country.
All right, so let me take you to Nnamdi Kanu at the moment. This is the third time we're hearing Aloy Ejimako, who is his lawyer, who has been representing him all the while, come out to say again, asking for the president's intervention in letting the SSS, allow Nnamdi Kanu have his own, what I call it, private or independent medical care. This appeal was actually made via a tweet, via his verified Twitter handle. And he's literally saying that, asking that the Nnamdi Kanu should be allowed to visit his own medical doctor. Apparently, even from the medical facility of the SSS, they've literally said that he's going through a serious ear impediment and infection. And of course, on several occasions too, he has mentioned that Nnamdi Kanu has a breathing situation with his chest, and also talked about a couple of other health issues or impediments. Why has this clamor been rejected by the SSS? That's another question. Secondly, are they above the law? If the law have actually asked that this individual should be given that opportunity as a human being, because he has his fundamental human right, access to healthcare, but proper healthcare for that matter, what is actually the delay?
I think his lawyers should be able to talk to this new government.
They have actually. This is the second time.
No, and I also want the political leaders of the eastern states, the 5 eastern states, especially now that they have new government, they should also join hands with what Soludo have been doing. Soludo have been on this matter for some time now. Yes. They should join hands with Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, to mediate in the matter between the Kanu and the federal government of Nigeria.
The committee of Igbo elders have all actually been doing the same thing too. They've been
Igbo elders. I know there was a time they led the delegation to Aso Rock to meet President Muhammadu Buhari on this matter, but they should not stop, because as it is, Nnamdi Kanu is still on trial. He has not been convicted, and therefore he should have his right must not be restricted, especially when it comes to his head. He should be alive to face his judgment till he's prosecuted. Whatever that will come after that, whether it's going to be jail or not. So denying him of medical facility to treat himself, I think it's against his fundamental human right. So I still need this new leadership, these new governors that have come on board, join hands with Professor Charles Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, and talk to this new president about Nnamdi Kanu, because this man has not been convicted. Even if he's convicted, he still have right to have his life. And therefore, this one that is being denied of medical treatment, SSS are doing overzealous, doing beyond what their level of responsibility. I think this new government in place in some of these states, all the states to come together and talk to the new president and let the new president wade into his matter, because this man should not be allowed to die in the prison. You know what that will mean to Nigeria.
Yes.
And we are not praying for such thing. He should be given access to his medical doctors and let him be treated. If he's well, he's there. He's going to face his prosecution. He's going to face it. Then, but deny him and he's in pains, and maybe something else that we don't pray for happens to him. I mean, I don't pray that something of that nature happens in this nation. So
all right,
please,
let me ask you, in recourse to the main conversation we had about Obasa's statement, what do you think are the three major areas that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to talk about as soon as possible before they degenerate to the point that it's beyond negotiation or beyond talking or beyond advice? And what are the three areas that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to focus on now that his administration has resumed fully?
He has to first of all talk of fostering unity among Nigerians. It is too important. Number two, he has to get people of good public relations, because I see the way most of the people that are around him talk. They talk as if they are talking to their family members, not talking to the whole of Nigeria. Even family members, not everybody that will respect what you are saying. Sometimes some family member can pick up arm against themselves. He has to get good public relation people. It is not just because you are a journalist who can write, then you are coming to speak for the president. You must have to talk to people who have this public relations knowledge on how to address issues. We are talking of a nation that is as diverse as Nigeria. He has to do that. Then he has to work on his party men at all levels, whether state, local government, federal. He has. I love what he did that day that he met with the progressive governors. But when he's meeting with them, he should be able to tell them that the first thing they should do in their respective states now is start to foster peace and unity. It is too important. But for him to be able to excel in whatever development he wants to bring to this nation, and even as things are as tough as with us in Nigeria now, we want to hear good statements coming from the leadership of this nation. It is important to begin to tell them this.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Elvis Elimehele, for being part of the World News at 12 and for your profound input on the conversation. I do appreciate you.
Thank you, Esther.
All right. Now, ahead of the inauguration of the 10th Senate on Tuesday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has appealed to the All Progressives Congress senators-elect to abide by the zoning of leadership positions announced by the National Working Committee of the party. President Tinubu made the call at a meeting with APC senators-elect on Wednesday night in Abuja, and this is according to a statement by the Akmabio Jibrin media team. The APC last month zoned the position of Senate President to the South-South, with Senator Godswill Akpabio as a preferred candidate and Senator Jibrin Barau from the Northwest preferred as Deputy Senate President. Addressing over 40 APC senators-elect led by Senator Akpabio at the Aso Rock Villa on Wednesday night, President Tinubu appealed to all APC senators-elect to toe the line of the party's zoning arrangement in electing their presiding officers, stressing that this is the right thing to do in support of the renewed hope agenda of his administration. He further reiterated that the task ahead of finding solutions to the myriads of national problems cannot come from the executive arm of government alone, but by the working together of the executive and the legislature. He added that senators-elect should reach out and pass the appeal to other APC senators-elect unavoidably absent to toe the party line and put a leash on all personal ambition in favor of party program and national interests. And on to stories outside the shores of Nigeria, children are in a critical condition following a knife attack in the alpine town of Annecy. The attack was carried out in a park by a Syrian man aged 45 who was seeking refugee status. French media reports that the injured children are around the age of 3 and 2 of them, and one man are in a critical condition. French President Emmanuel Macron has said the nation is in shock following the attack. The city's mayor has denounced the appalling attack and said a press conference will be held later. Photos coming in from Annecy show armed police and other emergency services at the scene after it was secured. Soldiers can also be seen nearby. In many of the photos, Lake Annecy and the French Alps are visible. And now to wrap up the world news at 12, here again are the top stories. You heard that Akman Lawan has expressed stoicism towards rubber stamp tag. Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer begs Tinubu seeks independent medical care for IPOB leader. Lagos belongs to Yorubas, Lagos House of Reps Speaker Obasa declares. Tinubu urges APC senators-elect to respect zoning arrangement. And on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, children in critical condition after front knife attack. That is a wrap on the world news at 12, right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Mwachuku. Good afternoon. Thank you for listening. Up next is Martyrs with Ekami Judah.